Happening right now, we are awaiting President Biden. He could walk on stage any minute at this Detroit rally that he's going to be holding. He's had a busy day there. Earlier, he did a town hall kind of wading into the crowd, talking about the issues he thinks are most important. And tonight, in front of a much larger crowd there, in one of the three major blue wall states, they're now focusing on his campaign. He's going to be on stage. Fourth time this year President Biden has been in Michigan so far. So we'll keep our eyes there. In the meantime, on Monday, Republicans are descending on Milwaukee, Wisconsin for the Republican National Convention. Unlike the Democrats, Republicans know for sure Donald Trump will be their nominee for president. They proudly stand with him. His influence dominates the party. This is his party. It's his show. And he's also going to make his pick next week. Kevin Bishop is a former press secretary for Senator Lindsey Graham, who has Trump's ear. They have a love-hate relationship, usually love, and also owns Bishop Strategy. Kevin, thank you for being here. Do you think we are going to get a VP announcement, let's say Pennsylvania this weekend at a rally, a key state, or do you think it's going to be Milwaukee next week? And by the way, who's your money on?
Well, let's go through that. If I knew who it was going to be, I would definitely let everybody know. But President Trump is a great showman. He's going to milk this for every bit of publicity he can get. He understands how this works. He understands the media, and he understands how to make it the biggest production he can. So that's absolutely his goal. You know, we're really down to four main candidates. I think you look at them. J.D. Vance, I think a lot of people think it will be Senator Vance, and you're looking at Governor Burgum, Senator Rubio, and then the one closest to me, at least from my heart, at least, would be Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina. He's still in the running. Senator Scott would be the first person from South Carolina going back to John C. Calhoun to be on a major political party ticket. So we'll all hope Senator Scott will ultimately be the choice. But regardless, I think the biggest difference is President Trump has so many good choices, and that's something the Democratic Party does not have right now. So we've got a plethora of great choices, and he can't go wrong with any of those four candidates. I think they'll bring a lot to the ticket.
Okay, we're going to get onto the RNC, but I just have to ask, what do you mean? Like, everyone's talking about the young, fresher possible picks, all these blue state governors, that they'd be great. What do you mean?
Well, I mean, we have four candidates. Any of them that President Trump would pick are going to help in their own way, whether it's Senator Scott, who would be the first African-American on a major Republican Party ticket, Senator Vance, he actually is from Ohio. He would help with the... Oh, excuse me?
I see. You were talking about Kamala Harris. Okay, I just wanted to make sure I knew what you were talking about there. So let's talk next week, Kevin. Donald Trump, as you mentioned, he's a showman. And, I mean, look at the movies in the show. He loves being a star. He loves celebrities who like him. And I have seen a few notables are on the speaker list. You have Amber Rose. You have Dana White. Any surprises that you expect?
Well, I think the biggest surprise, at least as we're looking as far as speakers go, President Trump, this is going to be an unusual Republican convention. It's something we do have a different Dana White, having him as the guy speaking right beforehand. You're going to have also Don Jr. speaking right. He's going to be speaking right before the vice presidential candidate. And so the Republican Party, we're moving in a little different direction. It probably will be more celebrities. Honestly, the Democratic Party for decades had celebrities. They have tons of celebrities. We'll see a little more celebrities come with the Republican Party this year. And that's something that's been a little bit unusual for the Republican Party. It's always been just elected officials, and we'll have a little more on the celebrity side. But again, the one biggest issue, too, with the Republican Party right now is sort of weird. Usually a party are super exciting time. We're ready to go. In a weird way, Republicans, I think everybody sort of wishes that we were maybe could step back a little bit, because the Democratic Party right now is in such turmoil, shall we say, that we almost hate to take attention away from what's happening with President Biden, and the Democrats just absolutely being in a state of absolute disaster. And you almost hate to give them a little bit of breathing room. So.
Okay, got it. At least, I mean, being truthful there. By the way, how did Republicans start to attract these stars? Because, I mean, I was there 8 years ago at the RNC. I think Peter Thiel was probably the biggest name, or a John Voight type person. I mean, and now Trump is pulling in more stars. How is that happening?
Well, President Trump, actually, he comes from the world of Hollywood, but President Trump has actually it's a new Republican Party. It's not the one of George Bush. It's not the one of Mitt Romney or John McCain. He's brought in a lot of new energy, new alliances, and new constituencies to the Republican Party. And you're going to see that in the speakers who bring forth on the convention. You're seeing President Trump, he's going to do very well with the African-American community. He's going to be the first Republican in my lifetime who's able to really to eat into the Democrats' vote margin in inner cities, whether it's Atlanta, whether it's Philadelphia, Detroit. You will see President Trump do something that no Republican has ever been able to do. And that speaks well to the coalition he's putting together. And that's why he's going to be an incredibly strong candidate in November. He's got a new Republican Party and a new Republican coalition. And you're seeing that it will show up in the speakers who are speaking from the podium. It will definitely be a different Republican convention than we've ever seen.
You got me exactly where I wanted to go, because Trump has touted his growing strength among black voters, Latino voters. You know, and there certainly were represented, you know, Diamond and Silk were there and things like that. But I think you're saying it's supposed to be broader. And how diverse do you expect the lineup to be?
It will be more diverse than the Republican Party is used to. Now, when we talk about diversity in the Republican Party, let's be clear. President Trump's not going to win a majority of the African-American vote. I think we all know that. That's not going to happen. Republicans in general in past elections, we got 6 to 8%, somewhere in that ballpark. If President Trump can move that up to double digits, you swing a lot of these states, whether it's Pennsylvania, Georgia, Michigan, states like that will be battlegrounds. Those votes, frankly, almost count twice, because they're one you're taking away from the Democratic nominee and putting it in your column. If President Trump can do better with African Americans in places like Atlanta and Philadelphia, then you swing those states from the Democratic column to the Republican column. So those are incredibly important constituencies. And that's why President Trump, that's why you're seeing this new Republican Party. And it's going to be one that, frankly, if you're a Democratic strategist, they're having a hard time figuring out how to overcome it. It's a grave concern to them.
I see. Okay, and it sounds like they're trying to have that represented on stage as well, maybe even in some primetime slots. But one slot I did want to mention to you, Don Jr., as you said, speaking right before the VP is speaking on Wednesday night. And yes, there's speculation. That means it's going to be J.D. Vance. These guys are friends. He's been campaigning for him behind the scenes with his dad directly. But my thought, Kevin, is, are they setting up Don Jr. to be Trump's true successor in your party?
Well, we'll see. You know, I mean, first thing is President Trump has to win re-election. That's the first business. You know, there won't be any successor unless President Trump wins. That's not something you can really focus on. But I want to say one thing about J.D. Vance. I had the great fortune of, in 2022, when he was running for the Senate, Lindsey Graham, my boss, and I traveled to Ohio, and we went and campaigned with Senator, then at the time, J.D. Vance, author of Hillbilly Elegy. And I got to see J.D. Vance in action as he was running to be the senator from Ohio. He's incredibly impressive. He's very good on the stump. He connects with audiences. At the time when I saw him speak in these groups, I could tell, I thought I was looking at someone who had an incredibly bright political future. He speaks, frankly, in ways that Republicans are not used to hearing from someone who has his background and his experience. He comes from a much different background than most Republicans you would think of. You know, he grew up in a really tough situation. If you've ever read his book or watched the movie on Netflix, Hillbilly Elegy, you'll see he did not come from the best of circumstances. And so he can connect with audiences in ways that I think many politicians, honestly, that they've not been able to. And if J.D. Vance is the guy, and I think it very well could be, he will be a force to be dealt with. Yeah, increasingly, Republicans are not coming from country clubs. They're coming from very working class backgrounds. And, you know, he's an interesting guy because he went from everyman to Yale Law elite to kind of everyman, yet senator. He's a really interesting profile. Kevin Bishop with Bishop Strategy. Good talking to you. Good talking to you. Thanks for having me. And Scripps.